Hare Krishna, and welcome everyone to our weekly Bhagavad Gita session. Uh, we are discussing we're towards the end of chapter 2, concluding chapter 2, and we'll move towards the conclusion of chapter 2 today. And so this chapter is titled as a Bhagavad Gita summarized, and we discuss a lot of things. But today, we'll discuss about one delicate topic, um, about the activities that we need to perform in as we adapt to the spiritual culture, as we try to become devotees, how our culture changes and what does it mean, we will find out as we progress in the today's class. So my request to all 66 of you is to stay patient. We'll go through some of the verses of Bhagavad Gita, and then we will switch to a book where we'll use some paragraphs from a book called Spiritual Culture by Her Grace Devaki Devi Dasi. And we will try to understand her perspective on this topic and learn, and then contemplate on about the practical application of those teachings in our respective life. So with this, let's move ahead with the with our reminder of us being on the battlefield constantly. We need to remind ourselves of this, uh, as we probably are joining from the comforts of our home today, especially 11 a.m. Sunday morning, nice, easy morning we would have had so far. And we have plans to spend nice day with our family, friends, laughing, sharing jokes, doing something that we love, and generally, spend this day in a relaxed way. Remembering this doesn't feel like being on the battlefield. This does not remind us that we are on the battlefield. However, it's important. Bhagavad Gita brings us this consciousness that you might be comfortable today. We all might be comfortable today, but that does not, ma'am, guarantee comfort tomorrow. Doesn't even guarantee comfort next moment. The life is filled with so much uncertainties that we need to be cautious and ready to face challenges every time and any point of time. Uh, we don't know from where what will pop up when. So we have to be always cautious. And that's the mood of people who are on the battlefield. Even if they are relaxing, they are always cautious. Even if they are eating, they are always cautious. Even if they are, having fun, sharing some funny moments, they are always cautious. Anything can happen, and that's the nature of battlefield, and that's what Bhagavad Gita keep reminding us. And we experience it. We realize, we get these realizations also from time to time in our life, but we generally would like to think that we are not on the battlefield. Maybe somebody else says, but maybe we are in a very comfortable position. But it doesn't take a second for turning our comfortable position into a miserable position. And hence, this gives a this it helps to remind ourselves that we are on the battlefield all the time. So there's no harm in having this reminder constantly back of our mind. Now, moving on, this journey we are taking, systematic study of Bhagavad Gita, is expected to transform us, transform us from being confused to being confident and encouraged. Being don't doesn't being in a state where we don't know what to do, to a state where we are clear about what we have to do. So externally, nothing might change, but internally, a lot will change. A lot should change. A lot has to change. And that's the transformation that all of us should be seeking to attain after completing the study of Bhagavad Gita. And we will take one important step today in the journey of this transformation as we study as we go through today's topic. How does this look like practically? Practically today, we depend on world for our happiness, and Krishna, we consider him as a source, as a order provider, as a mean to attain that happiness from the world. I want a job. I want a lot of money. I have so many desires. I want to do so many things. And for that, I need a lot of resources, time, energy, ability. And I want all of that to come from Krishna. So Krishna, kind of God, kind of becomes an order supplier for us so that we can enjoy in the world properly. However, when we become devotees of Lord Krishna and study Bhagavad Gita, we complete the study of Bhagavad Gita, the things turn 180-degree on the other side. Now, Krishna has become the source of our happiness. Krishna is becoming a source of happiness. So, this circle of happiness is replaced by world to Krishna, and world become mean, or world become mean to serve Krishna. Utilize devotees utilizes the world to serve Krishna, and they get all their happiness from Krishna by their engagement with Krishna, by their association with Krishna. They derive all the happiness by performing service activities in the Krishna consciousness. They derive happiness. So their dependence on the world to become happy substantially reduces. They are no more dependent on the world for that. They're dependent on Krishna. They're dependent on the mercy from Krishna, and they use world to serve Krishna. So this is the position that we wish to attain, where in the towards the end of Bhagavad Gita, the 54th verse, Arjuna asks a beautiful question that Sthita Prajnasya ka bhasha samadhistasya Keshava sitadim kim prabhasheta kim asita vrajeta kim. And we analyzed by way of this table that there are four questions hidden in this particular verse where Arjuna is speaking in a metaphoric way. Is not This verse cannot be understood in a literal way. Literally, vrajeta kim, how does he walk? It becomes a question, it becomes a useless question. How does he walk? How a spiritually minded person walk? How a person who is controlling his senses is walking? Now it's not this is not a fashion parade where people are walking in a very stylish way, and Arjuna wants to learn that way of walking. Walking also signifies activities, and Arjuna is interested in understanding how does this person who is self-controlled um, is able to function in this world, is able to respond to the sense object while functioning in this material world, which is full of temptations, which is filled with temptations. So the three questions that we already discussed are Sthita Pragyasa Ka Bhasha. Bhasha describes things and events and people. So Arjuna is asking about description of this person, the symptoms and the characteristics of such a person, of such a sthita prajna person, such a self-controlled person, that Krishna is wanting Arjuna to become like one. And Arjuna is now interested. Arjuna is an attentive student. He's picking up that Krishna consider him not to be at this position, but he want me to become like him, which means I need to know more about this person. And therefore he's putting across this inquiry that how does this person, what are the general symptoms of this person, how can I recognize him, what are the general characteristics of such person, how does he speak on receiving praise or blame, affection or hate, insult or appreciation, how does he responds internally to himself, within himself, and externally to the world outside? How is he able to respond through words? Then Kim Asita. Kim Asita, the sitting. Sitting is doesn't mean how it literally again does he sit in a yogasana? Does he? But exactly how and Krishna uses the word the tortoise in responding to this question, that how a turtle withdraw its senses the moment it senses a danger in the outside world. He withdraws its senses and brings them inside under the protection of his shell. Similarly, Krishna says that you need to protect your senses from the different vulnerabilities that exist in the world, the different temptations, the people, the event, the things of this world can exploit us, can make us weak in our determination to give up sense gratification. And hence, we need to be aware of our limitations. We need to be aware. We should not underestimate the power of Maya. We should not overestimate our devotion. And hence, we need to be cautious. And so, Kim Asita is about learning about how to control senses which in the world which is full of temptation. And last question that we will begin our discussion today is Vrajeta Kim. That the world we've taken birth, and from now till the time we will die, we will give up this body. We are expected to function while working. We have to work in this world. We have to maintain our body, and we have to perform some of the material duties which are assigned to us as part of this life. So, in order to fulfill all of that, we need to engage in action, and that for that is despite of the condition, the surrounding conditions might be favorable or unfavorable, but we still have to engage in activities. We have to do some things in life. So the ship is most protected or safest when it is anchored in the dock, but that's not what a ship is meant for. Ship is meant for sailing in the ocean. So despite of there being danger present, ship should sail. Ship should go out in the ocean also. Similarly, we need to perform our respective prescribed duties also. And for doing those duties, we will need to utilize our senses. And hence, it's important to know how to act in this world. And how does he walk is the question that signifies action on the part of this transcendental person, on the part of this devotee who is self-controlled and who, like Arjuna, want to become like him. So Arjuna also want to act in the similar way as this Sthitapragya person is acting, and therefore he is inquiring about him, about his activities. And the response of these verses of this question is given in the verses 2.64 to 2.71. And we will look at some of the verses today. रागद्वेष विभुक्तेस्तु विषयान इंद्रियश्चरन् आत्मन आत्मवश्य विधेयात्मा prasadham adhigachati. But a person free from all attachments and aversion is able to control his senses through regulative principles of freedom, can obtain the complete mercy of the Lord. So if you twist this sentence, that if you're not able to control your senses through regulative principles of freedom, what is that? We'll discuss in in a separate session. Hopefully, we are seeing if Narottam Prabhuji can, our senior devotee Narottam Prabhuji, who is our mentor, who's our guide, if he can come and take this particular session next Sunday. We're trying for that, and that will be a wonderful session which all of you should attend without fail. But we're trying for that, and so there he will take us through those principles of freedom, that how they give us freedom, the regulation gives us freedom. We'll speak more about that in the next session. But suffice it to know that Krishna says very clearly that unless we curb our desires and our activities, regulate our activities of senses, it will be difficult for us to perform sadhana and mercy and obtain the mercy of the Lord. We get mercy when we please Lord. Think of a beggar. Beggar gets his reward when he is able to convince the donor that he needs the money. He's the worthy of getting the money, and for that he has to do different tactics. He has to use different tactics. So similarly, we need to perform our sadhana bhakti with sincerity in order to attract mercy from Krishna. And that mercy is attracted, cannot be demanded. And hence, regulative principles becomes the first step for us to that we take for pleasing Lord through our actions, for doing some things which can make Lord happy. If we have to stop worrying about making ourselves happy, we should be worried about how to make Krishna happy by from our actions. And so we have to act according to the instructions given by Krishna in Bhagavad Gita. And for that, we need to uh, we need to we need to withdraw ourselves from activities which we perform for our own satisfaction and our own pleasure. Both cannot go hand in hand. If we have to do this, if we have to please Krishna, we have to stop pleasing ourselves, or or perform those activities. We have to minimize these activities and maximize activities for the Krishna's pleasure. So that is how we can get mercy from Lord. Again, this being the first time when Krishna is speaking, Krishna is not presenting himself as God here. He's saying, he's referring to mercy of the Lord as if Lord is some third person. Later in Bhagavad Gita, he will reveal himself to be that Lord. Right now, here that reference to Lord comes as a third person, as if Krishna and Arjuna are speaking, and then they're talking about a third person who is God, whom Arjuna should please and obtain mercy from. But eventually, Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita will reveal that he is that Lord. He is that God of to whom everyone should dedicate their actions. 65th verse, Krishna says, Prasade sarva dukhanam hani rasyopajayate prasanna chetaso yashu buddhi paryavatishthate. For one thus satisfied in Krishna consciousness, the threefold miseries of material existence exist no longer. In such satisfied consciousness, one's intelligence is soon well established. Buddhi paryavatishthate. So Krishna is not saying that the threefold miseries of material nature will disappear, but he's saying they will stop mattering to him. Thus, such a devotee is satisfied in Krishna consciousness. Uh, he will not get troubled by the threefold miseries of the material existence. The miseries will exist, but one will stop bothering about them. So one will rise above them. So if you think of a building which has caught fire, and and you are caught up inside that building, now your condition will be very worrisome. You'll be worried what's happening, where to go, how to exit this building, how इस building से बाहर कैसे जाए, यहाँ धुआं है वहां आग है, लिफ्ट वर्किंग नहीं है, स्टेयरकेस में काफी भीड़ है, स्टैम्पेड होने का डर है, एंड suddenly you go on a terrace and you get airlifted by a helicopter from the terrace itself. Now you are airlifted, which means there is a fire, there is a problem underneath you, but you are above the problem. The problem is there, but it does not affect you as much as it affects as much as it affected you when you are inside that building. But when you become disconnected by that from that building, when you become detached from that building, and when you raise your consciousness above those attachments and detach above those levels of attachments, then the problem exists, but they don't no longer stop they no longer bothers you. They no longer bothers you. So that is prasade sarva dukhanam. So that is, once you are satisfied with Krishna consciousness, these threefold miseries of material existence will stop bothering you. And another beautiful verse Krishna speaks, नास्ति बुद्धिर अयुक्तस्य न चायुक्तस्य भावना न चा भावा यतः शांतिर अशांतस्य कुतः सुखम is asking a question, a metaphoric question, a symbolic question. Really doesn't need an answer, uh, but 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 Krishna is posing a question here in this beautiful verse, that one who is not connected with the Supreme in Krishna consciousness, Prabhupada, right in the purport, one who is not connected with the Supreme uh, can have neither transcendental intelligence nor a steady mind, without which there is no possibility of peace. And how can there be any happiness without peace? अशांतस्य कुतः सुखम, कुतः, वेयर देर कैन बी हैप्पीनेस, सुख, सुख कहाँ होगा जहां मन की शांति नहीं होगी, वहां सुख कैसे होगा? एंड शांति, मन की शांति ट्रांसेंडेंटल इंटेलिजेंस से मिलती है, दिव्य बुद्धि से मिलती है। दैट ट्रांसेंडेंटल इंटेलिजेंस कम्स फ्रॉम कृष्णा। भगवान बताते हैं इन द 10.10th वर्स, 10th चैप्टर ऑफ भगवद गीता 10th वर्स, ही सेज तेषां सतत युक्तानां भजतां प्रीतिपूर्वकं ददामि बुद्धि योगम त्वाम येन माम उपयांति ते। येन माम उपयांति ते means by which they come to me, how using which people can go back to Krishna. Dadami buddhi yogam tvam. Krishna says, I give them additional intelligence, I give them transcendental intelligence using which they can come to me. But when do I give? When I see them bhajatam pritipurvakam. तेषाम, ऐसा नहीं कि once a week भजताम प्रीतिपूर्वकम, सतत युक्तानाम, always engage in loving devotional service प्रीतिपूर्वकम, not by force, uh, not by not in a complaining mood, not in a challenging mood, but in a loving mood. When one engages oneself in the devotional service in loving serving mood, one is able to attract transcendental intelligence from Lord as His mercy. And using this intelligence, we are able to understand Lord. We are able to gain understanding of Krishna and becomes captured by Krishna. We can get captured by Krishna. Our mind can be filled by Krishna consciousness, and in that state, if we leave body remembering Krishna, we will go back to Krishna. That's why Krishna says that then they can come to me. They can come to me. I give them this additional intelligence. I show them my mercy, and using which they can come to me. Using which they can get steady mind. In this verse, Krishna is saying they will get a steady mind, and by which they will and by which they will attain peace. They will be peace. They will become peaceful, and in a peaceful state of mind, can only one become happy. अशांतस्य कुतः सुखम मीन्स जो शांत नहीं है वो खुश भी नहीं है. द ऑपोजिट ऑफ दिस इज इफ यू आर पीसफुल यू कैन बी हैप्पी. Prabhupada writes in the purport that unless one is in Krishna consciousness, there is no possibility of peace. So it is confirmed in this 5th chapter of Bhagavad Gita that when one understands that Krishna is the only enjoyer of all the good results of sacrifice and penance, that he is the proprietor of all universal manifestation and he is the real friend of all living entities, then only one can have real peace. The beautiful verse in the 5th chapter, 29th verse, the last verse of 5th chapter says that Bhokta Ram Bhoktar Aham Yajna Tapasa Sarva Loka Maheshwaram Surudha Sarva Bhutanam Gyatva Mam Shantim Rachati. Knowing me to be the Bhokta, the enjoyer, the ultimate enjoyer of all the penance and austerities. So if you are walking to Prabhadevi for taking darshan of Ganpati ji in the early morning hours on any day, you are performing austerity. This is great austerity. You are walking for 10, 15, 20 kilometers from your home bare feet. But that austerity is not accepted by Ganesh ji. It is passed on to Krishna because Krishna says, I am the enjoyer, ultimate enjoyer of all the penances and all the austerities, all the sacrifices and all the penances. So nobody can keep these things, these sacrifices with them. They need to pass it on to the ultimate source, the ultimate, the supreme personality of Godhead. So we may perform our penances and austerities for any devata. They will have to be passed on to the senior supreme personality of Godhead, Krishna. And therefore, Krishna says, I am the ultimate enjoyer. You may be offering it to some other devata, but Krishna says, I am the ultimate enjoyer. I am that enjoyer. So why do it indirect worship of me? Why don't you directly get engaged in worshiping me? Avidhi Purvakam. He says Avidhi Purvakam means indirect way of worshiping me that he does not become very happy with. He says, if you want, you should come to me for everything. So that is his position. That is his that is his instruction. So, so Prabhupada says further that disturbance is due to want of an ultimate goal. And when one is certain that Krishna is the enjoyer, proprietor, and friend of everyone and everything, then one can with a steady mind bring about peace. When you know that Krishna is the ultimate enjoyer, you start cooperating with Krishna rather than competing with Krishna. We start cooperating with Krishna rather than competing with Krishna. And that brings peace for us, peace of mind in us. And that peace in peaceful condition we can become happy. So very beautiful verse, Bhuktaram Yajna Tapasa. We can study that verse as we go further in Bhagavad Gita as well. Another beautiful set of two verses where Krishna is giving a very important instruction, and here he's giving an example also. Indriyanam hi charata yanmano nu vidhiyate yanmano nu vidhiyate tadasya harati prajna vayur navam ivambhasi. वायुर नावम इवाम्बसी. नाव जो हवा से गुम हो जाती है, loses its tracks, जस्ट लाइक बहुत जोर से विंड आने से नाव दिशाहीन हो जाती है. It loses its direction and it start going in the opposite direction where it's supposed to go because of the strong wind. Strong wind can bewilder a small now. So similarly, sweep away. Prabhupada uses the beautiful word that as a strong wind sweeps away a boat on the water, even one of the roaming senses on which the mind focuses can carry away a man's intelligence. Can carry away man's intelligence. Tadasya harati pragya. This is something similar to the verse we studied in the previous Sunday, where there was some discussion about mind getting kidnapped. But here Krishna is saying about talking about intelligence getting kidnapped. And why intelligence is getting kidnapped? Because a mind is focusing on the senses, the input that is provided by the senses. Mind is focusing too much on those senses, and in that if that stage comes, then the intelligence becomes extremely weak and gets swept away by the mind, by the force of mind, by the force of the senses. The intelligence who is supposed to check the mind and keep mind and the senses under its control actually becomes servant of mind and those senses, and the disaster happens. So similarly, Krishna is saying, warning that similarly, a mind, if you focus on one of the senses, if you let your senses loose, they will drag you behind them. They will drag you and trip you from your path because you will no longer understand what is right for you, what is wrong, and where you are going. So that is the power of senses. So never underestimate the capacity of Maya to bewilder us, and never overestimate our devotional progress, that it will not affect us. thinking that this will not affect us. We will be up for surprise. If we do that, we will be definitely up for surprise. So we should be very cautious all the time, just like how we are always cautious while we are on the battlefield. तस्मादस्य महाबाहो निगृहीतानि सर्वशः इंद्रियाणीन्द्रियार्थेभ्यः तस्य प्रज्ञा प्रतिष्ठिता. Therefore, O mighty arm, one whose senses are restrained from their object is certainly of steady intelligence. This brings us to our next verse, which we will discuss in detail in the today's session. Again, a metaphoric verse, a beautiful verse. Yanisha sarvabhutanam tasyam jagrati sanyami yasyam jagrati bhutani sa nisha pashyato munehe. Very beautiful verse. Uh, we'll read the translation, then we will get into the discussion of this verse. What is night for all beings is the time of awakening for the self-control, and the time of awakening for all beings is the night for the introspective sage. Munehe is a word used for the introspective sage, the one who is self-controlled person. So Prabhupada simply translate him as a devotee of Lord Krishna. Let's see the let's see the purport by Srila Prabhupada. There are two classes of intelligent men. Two classes of men. One is intelligent in the material activities for sense gratification. So both Prabhupada saying both are intelligent. But एक आदमी की बुद्धि किसमें लगी है? His buddhi is engaged in material activities for sense gratification. Now, as we see, we would have seen television. Most of us have televisions at our home. If you remember last 20 years, how the televisions have evolved, how the mobile phones have evolved, how our laptops have evolved, how music systems have evolved, you will realize how cars have evolved. What you will realize is that there's a significant progress that we have achieved. What television used to be 20 years before and what we have now, it's drastically different, and there are constant improvements coming as we speak also. That in some part of the world some new television must be getting launched, which must be doing things which even today's latest television that we have today may not even imagine. So 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 this is intelligent. This requires intelligence, but this intelligence is used for material activities for sense gratification. Because no matter how sophisticated television we prepare, it will be utilized for watching sensual movies or passionate sporting action or a news which will make us depressed or horror stories, horror movies, or horror films, which will again, take us increases our anxiety. So, this intelligence is misused for creating facilities for sense gratification. So Prabhupada is recognizing that it also requires intelligence, but it is wrongly placed intelligence. And the Prabhupada gives the other side. The other is introspective and awake to the cultivation of self-realization. So sense gratification versus cultivation of self-realization. Now both are intelligent. Prabhupada is not denying that it requires intelligence, but but becoming self-realized also requires intelligence, and in fact higher intelligence is required for that, because now you're dealing with topics which cannot be which are spiritual in nature. So a study of matter is easier rather than the study of spirit, because matter is something that you can see, feel, touch, and work upon. But spirit, in case of spirit, you become the object. You're not you're making yourself, you're experimenting on your own self, and you're taking realizations, collecting realizations, and through that process, you're learning. You're studying the philosophy, you're working on your own self, you're offering yourself for the experimentation of sadhana bhakti, and in the process, you're learning, you're progressing on the spiritual path. So this is how uh, the self-realized, self-controlled person is the second category. Prabhupada writes further that activities of the introspective sage or a thoughtful man are night for persons materially absorbed, and materialistic persons, they remain asleep in such a night due to their ignorance of self-realization. So clearly, for those who are materially motivated, self-realization is not one of their goals. Maybe it's not even their top 10 goals. Maybe they may find this place for this somewhere in maybe top 100 goals, that they may make a list, and this can be 100th or 99th goal, that ultimately फिर मुझे सब होने के बाद मुझे सेल्फ रियलाइज कर बनना है, मुझे भक्ति करनी है, मुझे जन्म मृत्यु के साइकिल से बाहर आना है. Generally, people don't have that as their goals. Uh, so, Prabhupada writes that these are the activities of the. So, there are different activities that a materialistic person engages himself and a spiritualist person engages himself into. So, and Prabhupada is referring to those activities, or Krishna has referred to those activities as day. Activities implies action, and action is what happens during daytime. And night implies sleeping, which implies inactivity. So a materialist is not very actively seeking self-realization. He's ignorant to that fact. And a spiritualist is actively seeking performing activities for self-realization because he's aware of those facts. So he's aware of the power of book. He's aware of the power of sadhana, and he's aware of the power of the God himself, to whom on whom he is dependent on receiving mercy and for his progress in developing loving service attitude towards him. So, what is day? What is day for one is night for the other, and what is night for other, vice versa is also true. What is night for other? What is day for other is night for the first one. Because the so Prabhupada writes further, the introspective sage remains alert in the night of the materialistic man. The sage feels transcendental pleasure in the gradual advancement of spiritual culture. Spiritual culture. What does that mean? We will study later, a bit later. But this is an important word that we all need to remember, a spiritual culture. Whereas the man in the materialistic activities, being asleep to self realization, dream of varieties of sense pleasure, feeling sometimes happy and sometimes distress in his sleeping condition. So Prabhupada is calling the the mental concoction that a materialistic person performs. Prabhupada is calling it as dream while he's asleep. Asleep to what? Asleep to self-realization. Most people we know are not aware of that there is a need for self-realization also. Most of them are not interested in listening to Bhagavad Gita. Most of them are not interested in talking about self-realization also. Most of them definitely don't want to talk about death, which is inevitable, unavoidable. so, so they're not. So they are. Prabhupada said they are asleep to the self-realization. And but what are they doing? They're dreaming about what? Dreaming about varieties of sense pleasures. And in this dream, sometimes they see that they are actually getting whatever they had planned for, and they become very happy. And sometimes they see that whatever their plans were, they didn't get anything, or whatever they got was not meeting their expectation. So from that comes depression, comes the distress, becomes unhappy, and all of this is happening in their sleeping condition, because unless you get awake to the need to have self realization, to the reality that uh, you should be hoping to get that self realization, so that you're inspired to do activities which will help you end the cycle of repeated birth. You're inspired to do activities which will help you end, terminate the cycle of repeated birth and repeated death. If that does not happen, you are considered to be sleeping. They say even if you are physically awake, you are considered to be fast asleep. So, introspective man is always indifferent to materialistic happiness and distress. He goes on with his self realization activities undisturbed by material reactions. So, they come for a devotees also. The situations of happiness and distress comes, and but they are not, they don't get caught up with those in those situations. They accept those, they do what best they can do, and then they move away by tolerating at times the moments of happiness and distress. Yeah, and that's how they progress, they remain steady on the path of self-realization, which is their primary goal, why they are doing what they are doing. So this is the condition of two type of men that we have looked at. Now what we'll do is we'll take a look at book excerpts from a book written by Her Grace Devaki Devi Dasi. She's German by birth, and born to German parents, and grew up there, and then later on joined ISKCON in Sydney, Australia, 1985. She was married. Later, her husband married a non-devotee, and then since then she's living as a brahmacharini. So she lived in brahmachari ashram. Then she being born in the Germany, she's familiar with German and the languages of Eastern Europe, which was USSR earlier. So she's traveled a lot in that part, as well as Bangladesh, Australia, New Zealand, and she conduct various preaching seminars. So she has written a beautiful book uh, called Spiritual Culture. And we'll take a look at some of the excerpts from this book as part of our rest of the session. So 90 of us stay focused, and so we'll get a lot of information, and some of it can be surprising to us, some of it can be disturbing to us as well. And but we need to contemplate, we need to think through. These are views expressed by the author, which I would have picked up from the relevant paragraphs. And if need be, we can, if time permits, we can do a group discussion on some of these aspects that she highlighted, and we can share our thoughts, we can share our perspective, and what can be our practical application from these. And we just picked up a couple of examples. It's a big book. We couldn't go through, but we can extrapolate using the same pattern. We can extrapolate on some of the other aspects of Krishna consciousness or of our life, and we can compare the activities done by the materialist and the spiritualist, or the devotees, as a benchmark. So let's go through what Mataji has written. So this comes in the introduction to this book, a small introduction, but we picked up a few paragraphs from the book. Let us be ready for a little heart surgery. She's warning, as I indicated, that things can be little disturbing, because nobody likes change. We all like to believe that, we know what we know, and we know it well, and we don't need to be taught. And that is where problem starts, because that's where our ability to learn new things becomes weak. So Mata is saying that this is time for be ready. Let's be ready for a little heart surgery. A spiritual life is meant to bring deep internal transformation. By learning Bhagavad Gita, we've seen this repeatedly, that we want to bring transformation. Now we will do a deep dive into understanding how and what need to transform. Today's session will focus on those aspects that need to transform, where which aspect of our life where we need to bring this transformation, because we need more. It's a nice statement that we need to bring deep internal transformation, but how do I translate it into action at on a day-to-day level? So that is what we will focus today. That is what we will learn today. So let's be patient. Let's move on. We want to transform our taste, likes, dislikes, our old views, patterns of behavior, attitudes, and so on.
कोमल वो स्विच फेंक दियो बेटे.
So Mother is giving an example as to what needs to be transformed. Here is she's
आ रहा है अभी जाएगा लेने.
Yeah, I'm just muting everyone. Hopefully, everyone can be patient. Okay. Yeah, you can unmute when we have to speak, but for that moment, I have muted everyone. Okay. So we need to transform what? We need to transform our taste, our likes, our dislikes. So whatever we like today, that need to change. We may say कि क्यों अब सब कुछ तो अच्छा चल रहा है, why it should change. So we'll talk about that aspect as well. So but she gives a list of things that need to undergo change: the taste, likes, dislikes, views, patterns of behavior, and attitudes, and so on. So this is not an exhaustive list. There could be more, but just to be aware that these are the things in which we should expect some change if we become serious devotees of Lord Krishna. If we start understanding Bhagavad Gita properly, then these are the things where we should witness some change. Just like a patient suffering from high fever or a particular disease, uh, they need to know what has to change. If I have to get cured, which parameters of my body should change. If that is not clear, the patient will never know if he has been cured or not cured. So similarly, it's important to understand what should change, and then we can observe it and we can understand. We may not be able to measure it with instrument, but we should be able to observe it and reasonably draw conclusion that if we have changed or we have not changed. And that is indication of the fact that if we have progressed or we have not progressing in the spiritual life. Mataji says further that we don't want to stay as we are. Just like a patient don't want to stay sick as he is. He wants to get cured. Similarly, all of us as a devotees, as a aspiring devotees, as practicing devotees, should have a desire to be to become pure, to become better devotees than what we are today. And in order to do that, we should be open for transformation. We should be open to change the way we function, the way we live our life. We want to transform our heart so pure bhakti can develop. Mataji is going into the reason that what this transformation will do. If bhakti has to develop, Bhakti Lata has to develop, the field, the heart where this all happens needs to be purified. In its current state, as long as heart is full of material desires, doubts, attachments, likes and dislikes, etc., pure bhakti cannot grow. When I'm thinking about bhoga and aishwarya, I will not be able to think about how can I serve Krishna? How can I make Krishna happy? Because Bhoga and Aishwarya is for my pleasure. So I am thinking myself as a body and I'm thinking how I can enjoy this body. And in order to ensure I have sufficient means of enjoyment, I need control over resources. And that is what Aishwarya provide me. When I have a lot of money, I have a lot of power, I can arrange for sense gratification in an uninterrupted way, unlimited way. So, if that is my goal, if my heart is full with all the desires for enjoyment, then in such a heart, the pure devotional service cannot grow, will not grow. So, what I need to do? I need to cleanse my heart. I need to clean my heart. That is what happens with the by taking up the process of devotional service. So this is the transformation that we are referring to in the above uh, points. Let's move further. In order to be ready to transform, we need an open mind and heart. It's very simple statement, but it's a very deep effect. Why? We have 500 people in our group, and only about 100 join this class because people don't have open mind and heart. Why? Because they suffer from this mentality of I know. If we think I know, then we cannot learn anything, no matter how long we are practicing Krishna consciousness. Very again significant topic, significant point that made by Mataji, that as long as we believe I know, if a student goes to class thinking he knows everything, he will never be able to learn anything. If you go to an English class thinking you know everything, you will not learn even ABCD. You will keep debating with your teacher whether C should come before B and B should come after D. If you keep debating this, you will never learn. So this I know uh, is a dangerous situation to be in, and that is what Mataji is warning, that if you have that mentality, then this transformation is impossible for you, because you will not have open mind and heart, which using which you can learn, and when you learn you can practice, and by that learning and practicing you can transform yourself. But if you always think that you know everything, you will never be able to learn anything, you will never be able to practice anything, and nothing, no transformation can ever happen. So that's very unfortunate, and it all happens because of this mentality of I know. And even if that, with that attitude, even if you're practicing bhakti, you will not progress much. So Mother writes further that we will be blocked by our intelligence and false ego, and we will not be able to hear and understand, and we won't be able to transform. Most importantly, the end objective is not met. What is the use? What is the use of our bhakti if we are unable to transform our heart from what it is today to what we want it to be? It is today filled with all material desires. In spite of practicing bhakti, if we are unable to get rid of those, then our symptoms are not improving. Our devotionally, material desires, they just don't go away, which means we will perpetually rot in the material world, because pure devotional service never arises in our heart, and then we will not be able to go back to Krishna. So all our endeavors will fail. Though apparently we might be practicing bhakti, it may not benefit us if we don't have the desire to transform ourselves. Mataji writes further about the concept of culture, because we have used the word culture in the chapter 1 of this book. Mataji talks about about the culture. What does it mean really? And how do we understand culture and relate it with the activities that we perform in our day-to-day life? Mother is writing, the culture comes about living according to a certain philosophy and a particular ideology. Culture comes about living according to a certain philosophy and a particular ideology. So, culture is not a thing. It becomes alive when we live a philosophy, when we live and follow a particular ideology, whatever it might be. All of us, when we talk to people, we know we do things because we believe in them. We have certain reasoning behind whatever we do in life, and we believe in those reasons. Generally, we are convinced of those reasons. We do certain things as a tradition because we believe that's the only right thing to do. And so this is culture. This makes whole thing together is referred to as culture. That people doing things according, following certain philosophies, certain thought process, certain school of thought, or a certain ideology. When they act according to that, that becomes their culture. Mataji writes further that by practically applying and living a worldview, a culture develops in all fields of daily life. This is how culture evolves. There are only two kind of cultures in the world: spiritual culture and materialistic culture. Again, similar point of view, as Prabhupada bifurcated this in that particular verse, how spiritual and material, this two type of cultures exist: a devotees and a non-devotees, a self-controlled person and a materialistic person who's self-indulging person. So only the whole society is bifurcated in these two broad buckets. And Mataji writes further that to some extent, we can find some aspects of these two cultures in every country, depending on how materially advanced they are. Higher the standard of living, the more material sense attract gratification becomes goal of life, which push aside spiritual culture. So these two cultures will always be there. If one has to become prominent, the other will become weaker. Think of circles. If you have total 100 as area, if you're when you are well situated, when you have high standard of living, you have a lot of facilities for sense enjoyment also available with you. And if that becomes goal of your life, then your spiritual culture becomes zero or becomes 2 or 95 will be your material sense gratification. Desires for sense gratification can become like 95 5. The spiritual is 5, and so this becomes a very big circle when we, especially when we have higher standard of living, which provides more opportunities for sense gratification. So in countries where life is simple, people are a little poorer, people derive joy by practicing spiritual culture. So there, the opportunities for sense gratification or getting deriving happiness by indulging into the sensual things are lower because the people have very little means. And whatever they have, they probably are taking care of their basic needs. And that probably that itself is sufficing their basic needs. And in such people also, people need happy. People need to be happy. They need to search for happiness. And when our means are less, naturally we turn to the spirituality for happiness. So for these people, the spiritual practicing spirituality, they derive their happiness by practicing spirituality. They depend on spiritual practices for happiness. Why? One prominent reason is they may have taste for that, but another reason is they have little opportunity, they have no means, they don't have sufficient resources to explore the happiness that people get by indulging in the sensual activities. So that's the the people in poorer countries actually are more inclined towards spirituality. After World War II, material progress become more prominent, leading people towards sense gratification and economic development, gradually pushing aside spiritual culture more and more. So one of those will exist. Both actually exist, but one will be prominent and the other, it comes at a cost of making other weaker. If one becomes stronger, the other has to become weaker. So and that's how we have seen the world progressing towards. So the world after World War II, has we have seen tremendous economic development, tremendous technological evolution, and all of that is actually providing more and more greater and greater opportunities for sense gratification. And we see in the examples of television and mobile phones and how this the larger big more sophistication is aimed towards satisfying more senses. Your eyes are satisfied, ears are satisfied, and various desires are satisfied using that same stupid mobile phone. So the AI is contributing to it as well. So if you feel lonely now, chat with AI. You get married to that AI, and you go on a special tour with that AI assistant, and all the stupidity can be done on that phone. So all of this is coming at a cost, and that cost is spiritual culture. You're compromising spiritual culture, and that becomes very prominent especially when you have more economic advancement and more technological advancement. That takes you deeper inside sense gratification. It gives you more and more opportunities, and uh, for that sense gratification, and that weakens your spiritual culture more and more. In the Bhagavad Gita 2.69, Krishna gives us some information about these two cultures. He says, what is night for all being is the time of awakening for the self-control. And the time of awakening for all being is the night for the self-control. We have already seen that. In other words, these two cultures are as different as day and night. This is where she brings up this important topic. If they are as different as day and night, probably they are at the two at the two ends of the same scale, and therefore they are at the opposite direction. So there is no synergy in them. So they're as different as day and night. Literally speaking, spiritualists rise early. If you take this verse literally, then that also can be very easily understood, that spiritualists rise early, offer prayers, perform worship, etc., which is for most people time for sleeping, because they will wake up only at 8 o'clock, they will wake up only at 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, because they sleep late, because they sleep at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, and they'll wake up late. And that's how the time of awakening, when spiritualists will wake up early and utilize the Brahma Muhurta time and to connect with the higher reality, connect with God, he will utilize that time. But that is the same time where the materialist will be sleeping, will be fast asleep. So literally, also we can understand how these two cultures are opposite. Whereas a spiritualist, if he has to wake up early, has to sleep early. So he will slow down his activities and he will try to sleep early as possible at night. Whereas a materialist, his day only begins when the sun sets. And the whole lot of activities he can come up with for doing parties and drinking and eating at late night hours, which leads him to sleep at 2 a.m., 3 a.m., even 4 a.m. And so theoretically or practically also, we can see how the activities are, how they perform opposite kind of activities. So if you're a materialist, you are at one end of the spectrum. And if you're a spiritualist devotee, you are at the other end of the spectrum. But that's not all. That's not all. Nobody is pure materialist and nobody is pure spiritualist. That's why we are part of this Bhagavad Gita class, or we are part of this group where Bhagavad Gita related messages are being posted. So a lot of us actually falls in between also. They are in various spectrum, but various stages, but they are in between. No one is perfectly materialist. zero spirituality. Those are also there, but hopefully those are not. None of you are in that category, and nobody might be. Hopefully, or nobody, none of us might be a perfect devotee where we have zero material activities, zero material desires. We are all aspiring to become one, but we all could be work in progress. So we are at neither end of this spectrum. We are somewhere in between. So Mataji, write further for those people. As we go deeper, we understand that a day stands for knowledge and reality, whereas the night stands for ignorance and illusion. So what is reality and knowledge for a spiritualist is night for materialist and vice versa. when we when we preach, sometimes people tell us that you are trying to escape reality. When we are practicing Krishna consciousness, especially, people actually tell us that why you're not realistic, you're trying to escape reality. Are you living in illusion that Krishna will protect, Krishna will provide? Why are you not doing things yourself? And so sometimes people come across and they tell like this. And the funny part is, the devotees also say the same things about those people, that are you living in illusion? Why you're taking your body so seriously and everything connected with your body so seriously? Why can't you perceive that this body is a temporary dress that you are wearing? So why you are so much attached to the body and everything connected with the body? So why there are so many desires for the enjoyment of this body? So are you living, are you escaping the reality that you are going to die one day and you'll leave everything behind? Are you living in illusion? So even devotees will turn around and say the same words or use the similar arguments to a materialist person. So who is right? Where the reality is? Let's see. Let's see a materialistic culture. What a materialistic person is thinking. How is he thinking? What goes on in his mind? And what how he forms his convictions, whatever he has. As I said, everyone has philosophy. If a person is eating non-veg, he has some philosophy. He can justify, he can explain you his philosophy. If person is refusing to go to a temple, he has his own philosophy and he can talk about that. If a person is doing something, he has his own philosophy. Some of them are not very rigid about their philosophy. So those are the people who are open to change. But nevertheless, they do things because of some reason. And that reason, for some it could be tradition, for some it could be culture. Culture means everybody does like this, so I'm doing it. Tradition means we always have done it this way. My father did it this way, my grandfather always did it this way, my mother did it this way, my uncle did it this way, so I am doing it this way. And so or some could do things out of their own convictions, out of their own learnings, out of their own experiences. This is what I have experienced. Now, according to me, everything else is this, and they have their firm views, form as per their, for coming out of mostly their own experiences. But none of those could be right, and most of those could have a lot of wrongs in them. Why? Because our senses are imperfect. We make mistakes, and our senses are imperfect. We make mistake, and we have propensity to cheat on, make it worse, and we get illusion. So whatever knowledge we will acquire will be imperfect. And as long as we are relying on the knowledge acquired by imperfect beings, that knowledge will always be imperfect. And hence, whatever our conceptions are using which we are functioning in this world today, unless they come from scriptures which are given by God Himself, there is all a likelihood that they could be incorrect. And so, but a lot of people are not open to accept this reality. A lot of people are not open to get criticized. A lot of people are not open to change, and their intelligence block anything, any argument that is that is not in consistency with their beliefs. Their ego blocks all the arguments which are not in consistency with their knowledge or which they already know, and therefore they are unable to learn. They're unable to experience transformation, and so it's like a patient is unable to get cured and he remains sick forever. That's such a waste of one's time. So we should be open. We should be open, open heart. We should be open from our heart. We should be open to change. We should change, accept the changes as they come from God. God is our Surudha. He's got our best interest in his mind. And what are the instructions he has given? Because he's the creator of the world, the maintainer of the world, and the ultimate destroyer of us as well as the world, he know what is best for us. And with that, we should accept his instructions and try to follow them to the best of our ability. And that will help us transform. That will help us cleanse our heart so that bhakti can grow. And if bhakti grows, we will go back to Krishna. So let's understand in next couple of slides how a materialistic person think and how a spiritualist person think. So materialistic culture, I'm a materialistic person. This is what he's thinking inside his mind. He may not say it, but this is what goes on inside his heart. I am supreme. I am the topmost enjoyer, controller, and proprietor. I own this. I know this. So I am the controller. I am in control of things. Everything is meant for my pleasure. I am God, or God does not exist. God is dead. Sense gratification is the topmost goal in life. And out of all kind of sense gratification, sex life is considered to be the highest enjoyment. The motto is whatever feels good, do it. I am this body. Identification with the material body, gross and subtle, is prominent. Material life and culture increases bodily concept. Much emphasis is given to our material intelligence, our titles, degree, positions, etc. Material intelligence results in material recognitions and degrees and titles. And so a lot of intelligence is given by these people to these aspects of life. So they will judge you using these parameters. So if you don't have degrees, but even if you are a pure devotee, you will not mean much to them. If money matters to such people, then no matter how intelligent you are, how much spiritually elevated you are, how much happy you are, they will not value you because you don't have sufficient money. So their focus, these are the things with which they live their life, and they judge the world around them using the same parameters. Mataji writes further, material life is centered around being prominent, important, recognized, being unique, and being special. This is what a materialistic people aspire to become. Only one life. With death, everything will be finished. So enjoy as much as you can without worrying about karma and purifying duties. They are not much interested in understanding the law of karma. What can happen to me? Or they are not understanding in performing purificationary processes that we need to perform for purifying our heart. They don't care for it. Whatever feels good, just do it. Now, with this mentality, the prominent emphasis on enjoyment and survival of the fittest. With this kind of a mentality, even rapists can justify the worst kind of action like rape. Why? Because he will say, I wanted to enjoy, and that's my motto, and there's nothing wrong in it. And if that girl is unable to protect herself, she is weak, is not my fault, because survival of the fittest is the rule of the jungle, is the rule of the world. If I live like if I supposed to live, all of us are supposed to live life according to these principles, then this is what we will end up getting. We will end up having a jungle kind of an environment for in this world where everyone is unsafe, everyone is scared, everyone is depressed. So then why we wonder that we are suffering mental illness? Why we wonder that we are suffering from anxiety? Why we wonder that we are suffering with depression? Because that is what we have produced as a result of the culture that we live with. So materialistic life is meant to produce all of that, and that's why we today have what we today have. Contrast to this is the spiritual culture, where a devotee thinks and believes, convinces himself that Krishna is the supreme controller, proprietor, and enjoyer. Everything is meant for his pleasure. I am insignificant, eternal server of Krishna, servant of Krishna, and meant to be enjoyed by the Lord. I'm not the enjoyer, I'm meant to be enjoyed. He's supposed to use me for his pleasure, whatever he likes. Prabhupada writes in the poem that the way you want me to dance, O Krishna, make me dance. I will dance like a Kathaputli, which is controlled by the controller from the top. Whatever you want me to do, you make me do. I will dance according to your tune. I have no problem. So that is the kind of mood a devotee possesses and demonstrates in his life. Further, Mata writes, the goal of life is to establish our loving relationship with Krishna and give pleasure to him. We keep sense gratification and sex life to bare minimum with ultimate goal of losing taste and attraction for it. Now again, very significant statement. The sense gratification and sex life should be kept at its minimum with an intent. Ultimate goal is to lose taste for it, taste and attraction for it. Ultimately we don't want to be attracted by it also. That is our goal. We may not be there, but this is where we have to go. We want to, why and what will help us attain this goal? We want to develop higher taste. These are lower taste, lower activities. So when I develop higher taste, when I start getting pleasure by serving Krishna and his devotees, ultimately I will lose taste for the lower pleasures, including the sense gratification and sex life. I am not this body, but eternal spirit soul. Spiritual culture is designed to decrease bodily identification, gross as well as subtle. It is especially meant to subdue our false ego. Trunadapi sunicena tarorapi sahishnuna amanina manadena kirtaniya sadahare. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gives this instruction that kirtaniya sadahari, somebody can become devotee 24 by 7. They will be able to chant name of Krishna 24 by 7, become pure devotees when they will give up these two things. Trunadapi sudhichena. One become tolerant, one become humbler than the grass, blade of grass, and tolerant like a tree. One is ready to give all respect without expecting any respect from anyone. When you are able to do these four things, you can become pure devotee from then onwards. Then the pure devotion can awake in your heart. So if we have to become like that, then this is the preparation that we have to put in. So not this body. I am eternal spirit soul. Spiritual culture is designed to decrease bodily identification, gross as well as subtle. So it is especially meant to subdue our false ego. This is the verse which tell us that how our false ego should become humbler than a blade of grass, tolerant than a tree. That should be our goal, and then we can become pure devotees. Further, Mother writes, there is not only one life, but many lives, which lead us to the understanding that we have to accept responsibility for our actions in this life. The law of karma exists. The law of karma is functional, and we should know it. And with that awareness, only we should act in the world. By performing our purifying duties within Krishna conscious practice, we qualify ourselves to return to spiritual world, back home, back to Godhead. This is the conception with which a devotee live our life. So if we want to become devotees of Lord Krishna, if we are expecting transformation in our life, these 5 points, these 4 points, we should remind ourselves every day. Every day we should wake up and read these 4 points and then function throughout the day, remembering these 4 points, these 4 bullets. So it's so critical for us. And if we are unable to do this, then we will continue to live according to the materialistic conceptions of life. We are resisting change if we are not able to, if we cannot learn these things, the spiritual conception of life. If we fail to learn and implement it in our life, uh, we will be resisting change. We will not transform. So the material culture, which is full with sense gratification of all kind, and the spiritual culture, which is devotional in nature, where we become servants of God, and we derive all our pleasure comes from the serving Lord. Now this journey is of a 180-degree change. If we are here, if you want to go here, it's a 180 degree, it's a complete transformation. This is like a night, this is like day. So it's not easy. Hopefully we are neither here, we are not here fully. If you are here fully, fine, great, that's good. But more likelihood that we will be somewhere over here, somewhere 10%, 20%, 30%. We would have progressed 90%, 100%, 110. We have to come up to the 180-degree mark to witness complete change from night to day, from material to spiritual. So this is going to be we have to decide ourselves where we stand currently and how far we have to go. And in order to do this, what we have to do. So let's take a couple of examples of what we really mean, and then we can open it up for the question and answer. So Mataji has discussed many aspects of life, which can be spoken, which can be discussed from these two perspectives. But we will take just couple of them, which are very prominent and which we deal with on a day-to-day life. We can't escape dealing with these in day-to-day life. The one is fashion and second is hairstyles. Mataji has also spoken about music and many other food and many other things can be brought here. For a materialistic person is not a devotee. He will be in three modes. What are the modes of material nature? We can talk about those later or discuss this later part of Bhagavad Gita, starting third chapter. We will discuss those. But just to suffice it to know that there are three modes that exist. A materialistic person act in one of these three modes or a combination of these three modes. What are these three modes? One is sattva gun, or it is also known as mode of goodness. A rajogun, which is also known as mode of passion, and tamogun, which is also known as mode of ignorance. So tamogun, rajogun, and sattvagun. A person who is non-devotee will act in under the influence of one of these gunas. So and accordingly their actions will be bifurcated, will be drastically, visibly different than one another. It's very easy to, if you will read through these descriptions of actions and to understand that it's easy to follow who is in which guna. Okay, so it's not very difficult. So fashion, okay, fashion. It's about it's the way we dress, the way we the way we conduct ourselves in the society, and also and so forth. So a mode of ignorance. If a person is in a materialistic person in the mode of ignorance, what will be his fashion? His fashion will be dirty. He will be wearing dirty and torn clothes. Neglected, for instance, new jeans that are pre-ripped so that they look artificially old. So this is their conception of fashion. Okay. Um, the the whole backside is so showing. So various ways in which a person in mode of ignorance will dress, which will be very, which will not, which will be very distasteful for many. Mode of passion will be what kind of a clothes that such a person will be wearing. It's will be wearing clothes which are revealing the body to attract the opposite sex for sense gratification and feeding the fire of lusty desires. So their sense of fashion in terms of clothing will be this. A person in mode of goodness, how will he dress? He will be decent, neat, and clean, not extravagant, does not call attention to oneself. A sattvic person will dress himself or herself in this way. And fourth, how a spiritualist will wear clothes. How will he deal with the fashion? Any fashion that reminds us of God can be viewed as transcendental fashion. The universal principle of reducing male female attraction is maintained in fashion. So, example, sari worn in a traditional way, covering head and back, and men wearing dhoti kurta, etc., as they remind us of dresses worn by people of Goloka Vrindavan. Radharani wears sari and covers her head. Lord wears a dhoti and his friends wear kurta. So this wearing this, we that remind our that seeing people wearing these clothes remind us of Krishna, remind us of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and remind us of gopis, the topmost devotees of Krishna. Therefore, these type of clothes are worn by devotees. Devotees accept these kind of clothes. So, and they don't wear them in a way in which the body can be revealed. Nowadays, even saris can be worn in such a way that that can become, that can look sexy, so-called sexy, and that's why that's also called mode of passion, dressing in the mode of passion. So this is how a fashion can be practiced by various people. Um, Again, mode of a point of contemplation, where we stand in the scale. Are we the zero can be the fashion in the mode of ignorance, or are we completely transform ourselves and we are at that 180-degree mark where we are dressing always like Mahaprabhu, or dressing always like people dress in Goloka Vrindavan, pure devotees dress like that. Do we do that? Are we desiring bodily attention? Are we desiring to attract the glances from the opposite sex? Or what are our desires? What are our taste? What are our likings? If our likings are somewhere here, we should be a matter of worry. If we are liking something here, we are good, but we can become better. We can come to the spiritual part platform where we dress in such a way to completely eliminate the bodily identification. Uh, so that is possible. So it's a transformation. We could be wherever. Sometimes we are here, sometimes we are here, sometimes we are here, and sometimes when I have to visit temple, I'm here. I could be everywhere, but there will be a predominant mode in which I might operate. And that will be our given mode. That will be our dominant mode. And that could be anywhere. That could be here, that could be here, that could be here, or that could be here. But wherever we are, we need to move towards the higher, better reality. Okay. Another another important topic is hairstyle. A lot of Bhagavatam says that the beauty is known by one's hairstyle, and that the way a lot of people spend a lot of money in making sure their hairs look perfect for an occasion. In general, the best amongst whatever the So they lot of attention, lot of attention and lot of lot of time and energy is spent on maintaining one's hair, which is considered to be the sign of beauty, which is considered to be the most important part of our life, which can be used for attracting attention of the opposite sex. So styling your hairs in the mode of ignorance. What will it mean? Hairs will be dirty, neglected, untidy, and messy. Dreadlocks, punk hairstyles, crazy haircuts or patterns shaved into the scalp, hair dyed blue, green, purple, etc., etc., etc. So if we have a taste to do any of these things, this can be considered to be the style in the mode of ignorance, the lowest, the tamoguna. If we happen to be in the mode of passion, the hairstyles will call for attention from opposite sex, inviting sense gratification and feeding fever of desires. Uh, the long for ladies, especially long hairs kept loose, since hair is a very sensual aspect and very attractive to men. They can be utilized to attract attention from the opposite sex like this. The short hairstyles with all kind of amazing creations, etc., also comes in the category of hairstyling in the mode of passion. Hairstyling in the mode of goodness is neat and clean, nothing extravagant or calling for attention for men as well as women. And the spiritual is when ladies cover their head and men mostly with shaven heads with shikha, maintaining a shikha. So that's something which will really not necessarily call for attention. Madhuri, go on describing that how all cultures and all religions promotes a practice of covering head for ladies. It helps dissolve bodily identification and cools down the fever of lusty desires and minimize the male-female attraction, which is required for steady spiritual practice. So we spoke about couple of aspects of our life, and we can go on talking about various other aspects of our life also, which includes food, which includes our the way we live, the way we decorate our homes, the way we uh, choose and purchase our car, and the way we function overall in the material world. And all of those aspects can be broken into these three components for the materialistic person and this spiritualist person. And then we can discuss a lot on those lines. We can understand on those lines. So this is where this is where we again we this is where we could be anywhere one of these places, and this is where we want to be. And the journey is that of a transformation that we have to undertake. So everything, wherever we might be, we have to accept the reality and move forward in our journey. And that, if we can do, can make our life successful, and our mission of learning Bhagavad Gita can also become successful, because end of learning Bhagavad Gita, we want to experience that transformation. Just like after spending week in hospital, a patient expect to see recovery, expect to see his symptoms improving, symptoms of sickness improving. He should be gaining strength. He should be becoming more fitter, more healthier, and the pain should reduce. The various ways in which his progress on this path can be judged. Similarly, our progress on this path can be judged using all of these parameters. How much our values are transforming, how much our likings are changing. We laugh on what kind of jokes. That can also be an indicator of where we stand on this on the scale. What kind of entertainment we choose when we have free time indicates where we stand on that scale. So various ways, various means in which we can judge ourselves. We don't have to be harsh with ourselves, but we should be open to know where we stand today. We should be, um, we should be honest enough to know, understand where we stand today. Because until we do that, unless we do that, we will not know how far we have to progress on our in our life. So to summarize, Krishna consciousness is meant to bring about a transformation so that the day of a materialistic eventually becomes night for us. We are meant to transform our life, our likes, dislikes, taste, or our patterns of behavior, our worldview, our values, everything all together constitute a culture and ultimately our heart so that bhakti can grow. If this does not take place, then our spiritual practice is rather external or superficial. However, this transformation cannot be imposed upon people. It can only be inspired. It is based on internal work which devotees will have to perform voluntarily at their own pace. This is most important. I'll read again. This transformation cannot be imposed upon people. This is a very significant statement. It can only be inspired. So what we are doing, we are meeting every week, every Sunday, and we are trying to inspire each other. By speaking, even I feel inspired. By hearing, you may feel inspired. And once we feel inspired, we will become open to make changes as described above. And then the transformation we can witness what we want to see in the world, in us. But this is internal work. Nothing from the outside is going to change. Okay, we may change. Instead of wearing shirt pant, we may people might start seeing us in wearing dhoti kurta. To that extent, there will be some external change. Earlier we never used to wear tilak. Now wherever we go out, we wear a tilak, and we go proudly out as devotees of Lord Krishna. Without fearlessly, we present ourselves as devotees of Krishna, and then accordingly, we function. But that can today I might not, that is something what I'm aspiring for. I may not be there today. I may not have courage to do that today. I may not have sufficient conviction to do that today. So it's a lot of internal work which we have to undertake. And then, and we have to remember, this cannot be forced upon me. I have to do it voluntarily at my pace. I have to seek help from devotees, but ultimately, I am responsible for my progress. I am responsible for my action. I am responsible for my transformation. Others will help. The devotees, mentors, they will help. That's why they are here. Bhagavad Gita will help. Krishna can help. But I have to voluntarily choose to transform myself. And if I do that, then impossible is nothing. Then it's just a matter of time that Krishna, with his devotees, will act in our life in such a way that we actually transform. We should develop a desire to transform. We should feel inspired to transform ourselves. And that is voluntary. That is something that we have to do. And then onwards, we just have to cooperate. We just have to surrender to Krishna and accept and do things to the best of our ability. And with Krishna's mercy, we will actually experience transformation in us. And then the bhakti will grow, the pure devotional love for Krishna will grow. And that will open the doors of Goloka Vrindavan for us. We will be able to go back to Krishna with that qualification. So we didn't had any group topics for group discussion in this particular session because it's highly it's a it's a it's based on the book, and it don't obviously all of you have not don't know access to this book, but nevertheless this book is available, and those who want they can pick it up from Amazon and read. But it's a very beautiful read. We are in the month of we see Vaisheshika Prabhuji with holding a Bhagavad Gita in his hand. The 1st December is Gita Jayanti day. That's tomorrow. Tomorrow is Ekadashi. All of you should be fasting tomorrow. Fast for Ekadashi and also observe. Is Gita Jayanti. Bhagavad Gita was spoken tomorrow by Tithi, by Lord Krishna to Arjuna in Kurukshetra battlefield. So tomorrow is the day when we do something for Lord. It's a good opportunity, great opportunity for us to do something for Lord. Today, for those who are living in and around Mumbai, there's great opportunity to participate in book distribution that will happen. So I'll post messages in the group. There will be one book distribution happening near Andheri West Station, where devotees will be distributing Bhagavad Gita to people and asking for some donation. The same activity will happen in Navi Mumbai, and the location will post. It will happen somewhere in Nerul or Belapur or Vashi. And the third place where it will happen is Thane, around Thane Mulund area. So these three places where whoever is nearby can go, should go and meet devotees and participate in this wonderful event of allowing people to transform their life by taking Bhagavad Gita. All of this is there in Bhagavad Gita. Whatever we are studying is there in Bhagavad Gita. Today, we don't know how to read Bhagavad Gita. We cannot we cannot um, we cannot identify our learning points from Bhagavad Gita by plain reading. Therefore, we should hear. We should attend these kind of classes, and we should learn Bhagavad Gita in parampara. And that way, we can step by step, we will all be able to transform our life. And by distributing Bhagavad Gita to people, we are allowing other people to transform their lives also. So this is greatest service. Krishna identifies in Bhagavad Gita to be the greatest service. If you can help bring other people closer to Krishna, you are doing the best service possible. And book distribution is one such opportunity we have. And by visiting one of these places today evening, come with family, enjoy your time with devotees, and try and distribute Bhagavad Gita yourself. It will be fun for sure. If you are able to sell a couple of Bhagavad Gitas, it will give you great joy. Also, we can all purchase our own Bhagavad Gita copy for our own self. We should all have personalized copy of Bhagavad Gita for ourselves, and using which we should read this every day. It's now we have covered up to almost we have towards the end of chapter 2, and so we have learned a lot in Bhagavad Gita, and a lot of these things are good to contemplate, good to read. A lot of these verses can be memorized also. So there's a lot to do using our Bhagavad Gita copy, and very very beautiful purports. You can underline some of the important instructions given by Prabhupada, which you find it very inspiring, and so on and so forth. So there's a lot to do with a copy of Bhagavad Gita. It's not meant to be kept on the shelf or in the cupboard. It's meant to be on your table, and you should be opening it, you should be reading it, you should be using it every now and then. So that's what we do. We inspire you to do. We encourage you to do. Tomorrow there will be reading sessions. We'll just get more details and we'll circulate details of those as well, so that you can participate in Bhagavad Gita reading sessions as well. So where the devotees will be chanting Bhagavad Gita verses, and you can participate in those Zoom sessions as well. So with this, we'll pause. I'll pause and we'll see if there are any questions anybody might have for basis what we discussed today. Yes, sir. Sanjay Devan Prabhuji and then Atishi Pantaji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, thank you so much for a very wonderful session today. In the earlier part of your presentation, as you mentioned, people in materially advanced countries are more inclined to sense gratification and have a very little of spirituality in them, which to a large extent is true. But the fact is also, Prabhupada ji got his initial disciples and established his Krishna consciousness movement in the most materially advanced country of the United States. And he was actually frustrated in his attempts initially when he tried to spread Krishna consciousness in India. And those people, the Americans and the Westerners, took to Krishna consciousness far easily as compared to us Indians. How does one explain something like that?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Proji. Very nice question. So when Prabhupada went to America, it was a very peculiar situation in America itself. After World War II, America was the most developed nation, most powerful nation, rich nation, had all kind of facilities that any nation or any people can aspire to or have not even dreamed of. Like that, they had, and they had so much. They had uh, so much of opulence that their youth was frustrated using that opulence. So, so they were looking for alternate culture. Around same time, America was in war with Vietnam. 65, 66, every youth was practically caught and sent to army and sent on the border to fight war with Vietnam. They were sent to Vietnam for war, and many of them didn't return. So there's a lot of anger against the establishment that prevailed in America. And when Prabhupada ji went to America around the same time, the same anger was getting translated into a counterculture in America at that time. And so that is where the youth thought that by taking to the drugs, they will have access to the higher realities. And so that's how the drugs mafia became the practically was destroying the entire youth of America, the whole of generations of Americans, the youth, American youth. So this is a peculiar time frame when Prabhupada happened to visit America. This explains why Prabhupada never went to America when he was 30-year-old, when he was 40-year-old, or even 50 or 60-year-old. Why he had to wait till 1965? It's plan of Krishna. One way to look at it is maybe Krishna had his when Krishna wanted to give him glory, he waited for a perfect moment for Prabhupada to be there at the point when this counterculture got was getting promoted. So Prabhupada ji actually tapped not the rich, not it's not that the rich Americans become his initial disciples. He ended up tapping those hippies who happened to with whom he happened to be living around him in the area of Bowery, where in the Tomskin Park, where he went and started chanting, and they responded by joining with their musical instruments and dancing and singing and playing with them. But they did it as a novelty initially. So all of them were, most of them were on drugs. Most of them were regular drug users. And most of them didn't had much of education. Many of them didn't had much education. I mean, most of them used to work in nightlife, nightclubs, or were instrument players in some nightclubs, and also and so forth. So Prabhupada started with that kind of audience, and eventually but he didn't limit himself to those people. He kept ISKCON open for everyone, and whoever walked in, they were treated equally, and that's how the movement grew. so um, so it's true that at that point of time there was an exceptional situation that got developed in America, and Prabhupada ended up tapping most of it, and that's how the movement grew in America very very rapidly. America, Europe, very rapidly during that phase of 12 years. After that, as we speak today, the principles are same, but the growth has slowed down considerably of ISKCON, or even Krishna consciousness. So now now that counterculture is practically doesn't exist. Drugs probably might still exist in even the United States as they exist today in India as well. But it's not very prominent, and the counterculture is not evident so much. But there it was like a rebel, thousands and thousands of youth would gather and they will shout slogan against the government, the establishment, and they would all of them would consume drugs, and government just didn't knew how to tackle them. This whole youth of Americans, how to deal with them, how to tackle them, how to control them, how to bring them on the right path. And they actually recognized Prabhupada's effort of making these youth free from drugs. All of them quit taking drugs after that, after joining Hare Krishna, after chanting, after taking prasad. And government, there are many government articles, many I think publications that came up appreciating Srila Prabhupada's work in this regard. But Prabhupada was not just interested in making America drug free, because he wanted to give them Krishna, and that's what he did. And eventually, they took up to the Krishna consciousness so nicely, and then all kind of people eventually joined the movement. So the movement is potent. Movement is potent. The message is potent enough, and anyone who, no matter where socially they stand, if they take to this process, they will succeed. They will purify themselves, and they can become pure devotees. But the probability of that happening when everything is hunky dory is lesser. It's like you can study and give your exams sitting in Disney World also. But Disney World, but the Disney World, which is surrounded by so much opulence, so much facility for enjoyment, the likelihood of you being able to concentrate on your study is less. It's not impossible, obviously, but it is lesser. So now also people are joining in US and in European countries. The new youth is also, even today they are coming, joining the movement, joining the temple, becoming devotees, taking up to the chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamantra. They're accepting regulatory principles, following regulatory principles. Wonderful joining kirtans, japa party, kirtan party, performed book distribution, and many of them are in their youth, prime youth also. So it's not completely stopped, but it has slowed down. Given the nature of material nature, when there are so many prominent opportunities available for sense gratification, uh, this becomes last priority, kind of last priority. That's where the preaching has suffered even in those Western countries. But obviously, it has not become zero. But this was like a more of a generic statement. It's not absolute statement. It's a generic statement that more the opportunity for sense gratification, lesser will be the focus on sense control, which is the sense of spiritual development. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Raji. Yes, Atshi Mataji and then Ashwini.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you so much for such an enlightening session. It was really helpful. But Prabhuji, I am a bit puzzled. It's not a very big issue, but like
Yeah.
as it was told, as you said, that we should get up in Brahma Muhurt and then japa and then studying Bhagavad Gita. All that I do, Prabhuji. Generally, I get up at between 4:30 to 5 o'clock, and because for that I go to bed also early. Try to go to bed early, as long as we are here like alone in the sense myself and my husband, but we live in the samsara, like we have to take care of our relatives and children keep visiting. They live away from home. Then relatives keep visiting, and I have a domestic help. But even then, when guests visit at my place, and the domestic help, my help is also like I don't want to make her overburdened, so I keep helping her, and I have to involve myself in doing taking care of them. So many things are there. So what happens is it becomes late in going to bed, and then I'm not able to get up so early. And generally, I always try to complete 16 round Japamala. But when guests are there, it's not possible. It is not happening. It may be 12 uh, round happens. And then every day I read Bhagavad Gita, but in those days when they come, I'm not able to read that long, either Bhagavad Gita or Shrimad Bhagavatam. I read every day. Then visiting temple, Saturday, Sunday, I visit. It is must. Ishkon temple in Jamshedpur, Ishkon temple is there. The other 5 days it's not possible, I have other responsibilities, but Saturday and Sunday I feel I should go, I must go, and I go. But then again, when the relatives are there, they want to go somewhere else, and I have to accompany them, they want me to go along with them. So and I feel guilty that I'm not able to visit temple, I'm not able to complete 16 rounds of my Japamala, I'm not able to complete my reading. So I feel bad about it. I mean, that is the reason I want to know, like, how can I do? And I have to be here at home with my family members, taking care of them. So,
Yeah. So
uh,
thank you, Mataji, for sharing this wonderful. And that's the situation. That will be the situation with most of us who are in the samsara, because we are there in
yeah,
the samsara. It's
yes,
like in the ocean. Sometimes oceans are calm. Sometimes oceans become choppy, and that's likely to happen. Our overall inclination. So this these are there's a guidance for our overall inclination. So culture is not disturbed by few off days. Okay, so
okay,
what is our overall mood? That is important. Our overall mood and overall tone is spiritual, and then there will be off days. There will be days on which somebody is not well. We are not able to, you'll be in hospital. You'll be taking care of somebody, and or somebody visiting on without any notice, and then they capture all your time which you otherwise
mm,
would have loved to use for spiritual activities, and so on and so forth. So, but those days will be few. And when those days comes, our spiritual practices do take a back seat, or I may say second seat or third seat, not entirely back, but still we can still manage time and finish and all of that. But there can be struggle in completing those things. But as soon as those things gets over, those phases get over, we come back to what is our inclination, when we want to, do we space out, do we get space out, saying that, oh, अभी 4 दिन तो लेट ही उठे हैं, 5वें दिन ऐसे लेट उठ जाते हैं, and then 6 day, 7 day, 8 day, and 30th day we just start getting up late, forgetting that we also have this spirituality to take care of, given important to the spiritual aspect of. So this is where we need this devotee association, and this can happen with everyone, any one of us, that at times we may have a general tone is very spiritual culture, we want to practice spiritual culture, but at times because of circumstances we may digress, and now when we digress, we can come back to the original track on our own, or sometimes we need a push, we need a reminder from someone. So that what the others devotee mentors will do to us, if in case they see us getting diverted, or they're getting distracted for too long. अब वो तो हो गया, गेस्ट तो चले गए, बट माता जी आप अभी भी जपा में नहीं दिख रही हो. Is there any other problem? Somebody may call and tell you, ask you, and then you will be remember, अरे बाप रे, हाँ गेस्ट तो गया के 1 हफ्ता हो गया, बट मैंने जपा ही ज्वाइन नहीं किया. So like that we can come to know, and this is where we help each other. This is the role that a spiritual mentor play in our life, to remind us at times of what is important for us. So, but I understand that those things, those moments will come when there will be struggle. There will be struggle for us to keep following all the all that what we want to do and our spiritual for maintaining our spirituality. Okay.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Thank you so much for your guidance. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mataji. Yes, Ashwini Wadkar, Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Prabhuji, in Gita Adhyay 18, there is one shloka, 67 number, Idam te na tapaskay na bhaktay kadachan. Prabhuji, every year I gift Bhagavad Gita to my colleagues. I have gifted right now until 4 to 5 Gitas. But I have doubt that maybe they are not interested, maybe they are reading or not reading. So, with reference to this shloka, Krishna telling Arjuna that don't tell this Updesha to the people who are not bhaktas or not believe on Krishna or see dosha, मतलब दोष दृष्टि देखते हैं कृष्णा को. तो अगर मैं लोगों को गीता गिफ्ट करती हूँ और वो उसका रिस्पेक्ट नहीं करते या नहीं पढ़ते, तो मुझे करना चाहिए या नहीं करना चाहिए, थोड़ा सा डाउट होता है क्योंकि हमें पता नहीं ना वो पढ़ते भी है क्या करते हैं, कैसे ही रख देते हैं.
Okay.
यही डाउट था प्रभु.
Yeah, nice question, and especially very critical from the point of view of book distribution जो अभी होगा इस month में. So yes, so potency of Bhagavad Gita is does not get affected by how it is being treated, where it has been kept. It is always potent, just like sun. It's like sun or Ganga Jal. Ganga Jal is always has its potency to purify, no matter where you keep it. So nothing can make a sun dirty. Sun, हम sun को गंदा नहीं कर सकते. Similarly, Bhagavad Gita is like that. So Bhagavad Gita we cannot, but yes, physically we should. And I think if someone has accepted Bhagavad Gita, probably they have that, they will have that minimum sense of where to keep it. They may keep it nicely in the cupboard, may not open it, read it, but that's fine. Many of us were in that category as well a few years back. So we had Bhagavad Gita in our cupboard and never really had a chance to open it and read it. Or whenever I tried reading it, I found it very boring. I didn't understood a word. I couldn't figure out what to do with it. Whatever those instructions or the verses that I was trying to read, what to do with those verses, how they are practical in my life. I couldn't figure that out using some Bhagavad Gita versions that we have used, we have read. So it's not that complete. It's not completely their people's fault that they are not able to read Bhagavad Gita today. At times, we have to we can give them more. Apart from giving them Bhagavad Gita, we can also send them a link to attend Bhagavad Gita classes, so that they become aware that somebody is teaching Bhagavad Gita. Let me go and hear. And from then onwards, they can get inspired to practice the principles that are taught in Bhagavad Gita. So it's possible. So we can do little more. And the reason why Krishna says that those non-believers you need not preach, because those are the people who hate Krishna. And if I hate somebody, if you come and glorify about that person, my hatred increases. And accordingly, those people who hate Krishna are also children of Krishna. If by your action, if their hatred starts increasing, their return journey to Krishna becomes more difficult. Krishna wants ultimately them also to voluntarily come back to him. But their journey becomes more difficult if I increase my hatred towards Krishna. I already have hatred, and by hearing Krishna's glorification, I start hating him more. Now I'm going further away from Krishna. But you are thinking, you are praising, you are bringing me closer to Krishna. But more I hear about Krishna, because of this hatred which I already possess, I am going further away from Krishna. Now this is a disservice to Krishna. So we should discriminate. We should identify definitely who is favorable to Krishna, who is at least may not be aware of Krishna, who may not be aware of Bhagavad Gita, but might be neutral or in the favorable zone as far as Krishna is concerned. If they are, even if they are neutral, they can be brought into the positive zone. And if they are positive zone, their positivity can be increased. But if they happen to be in the negative zone, they uh, they openly criticize Krishna, they openly talk about against the religion. They don't believe in any religion per se. They are kind of atheist, having atheistic mentalities. Then such people need not be or should not be given. They may not accept also from you. If you offer them to take copy of Bhagavad Gita, they may simply refuse. No, I don't need one. So it's very unlikely that they will take. But most people will take very भक्ति भाव से लेंगे, श्रद्धा से लेंगे, ऐसे सर को लगाएंगे and cover भी नहीं खोलेंगे. That is also possible. But at least they are somewhere in the positive territory as far as Krishna consciousness is concerned. So they can be cultivated. So we need to learn to be able to discriminating people. Okay, Mataji?
Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Okay.
Thank you. Let's see if there are any other questions. Okay. Since there are no other questions, we'll conclude today's session. So I'll
Hare
go to the
Krishna
group.
Prabhuji.
Yes, ma'am.
Prabhuji, my question is that, as you mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita, we should be as humbler as grass, like that. But Arjun also wants to be humbler, and Krishna tells him to fight. And how can we interrelate that?
So being humble means not letting distraction distract us from the path. To be humble is not to let distraction distract us from the purpose. And to be tolerant, basically. So what it means is, if I'm humble, doesn't mean I can allow people to walk all over me. When I'm humble for a purpose, and I'm accordingly, I'm I'm accepting authority of Krishna, and I'm acting according to his instructions. That is where I become humble. So Arjuna accepted authority of Krishna when he says Sarva Dharman Parityajya Mamekam Sharanam Vraja, Meri Sharan Lo. And Arjuna accepted Krishna's authority completely, and then completely surrenders to Krishna. And then he does whatever Krishna tell him to do. So he says, Karishye Vachanam Tava. Whatever you will do, Nashto Moha Smrtir Labdva Tvat Prasadan Maya Achyuta Sthitosmi Gata Sandeha Karishye Vachanam Tava. Whatever you will speak, I will do. Now, this also requires humility. Humility requires him to keep aside his own intelligence, his own desires, his own aspirations, his own emotions, and act with concentration, with single-minded focus to serve Krishna. So that requires humility, great humility. So Arjuna's action of fighting a war is an act of humility. Okay, so I'll give an example. Another example I will give you is that of Srila Prabhupada. Okay, Srila Prabhupada went to America. So in India, he was a respected sannyasi. Okay, he was living in Vrindavan. He was famous for speaking on Bhagavad Gita or giving discourses on Srimad Bhagavatam. He had met President of India then. He had met some ministers. He had self-published Srimad Bhagavatam. So he was known as an author. So in India, he could have spent the rest of his life very happily at the age of 70. Who wants to go to a foreign country where you don't know anybody, you don't know how their culture is, you don't know their weather? So why will he go? At age of 70, one would think that, okay, let me spend my rest of my life here and then I'll go back to Krishna, because he's living in Vrindavan, perfect place to live and die. But Prabhupada was not so much worried about his comfort. Prabhupada was not so much worried about how much respect he gets. And he knew that if he goes to America, nobody will care for him because those people just don't understand how to behave with a sannyasi. Those people just don't understand who Krishna is. So he will not get the same amount of respect that he was getting in India if he goes to America, but he still choose to go there. Why? Because his focus was not on how he will get respected more, how his respect in society will increase. He was interested in fulfilling the desire of his Guru Maharaj, of Krishna's desire, of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's desire to spread Krishna consciousness all over the world. He says, if I will not do it, then who will do it? Let me do it. If I can, whatever I can, let me try and do it. So that's why Prabhupada went. So Prabhupada went to America, keeping aside his own interest, keeping aside his own aspirations. One would aspire. He was worried that if he happens to die in America, what will happen to him? Will he be able to go back to Godhead? And his Guru Maharaj, his God brothers actually told him that you are carrying Vrindavan with you wherever you are. You are always in Vrindavan. So Prabhupada was asked one question that, are you in America? Prabhupada said yes and no. Yes, why? Yes, because his passport has been stamped as America, entered America. Physically, he was present in America, but mentally and emotionally, he was not connected with America. He was always connected with Krishna. He was not getting impressed by the material development that America was showcasing in New York and Boston. He was not impressed by the comforts that America was offering, the skyscraper buildings, the fast moving lifts, the fast moving cars, and all the luxuries and all the comforts that America presented. He was not impressed. He was not interested in any one of that. He used it, but he was not attached to it. He was not he was not bewildered by it. So even though physically he was in America, he was always in Vrindavan because he remained unaffected by the American thing that existed. So he was always in Vrindavan. Though he was physically in America, he was in Vrindavan. So that way we understand that how he kept his personal ego aside and he did his duty. Okay.
But Prabhuji, like whenever somebody tries to insult us or body shaming or color or anything else, like in that situation, do we need to tolerate, or like if they insult about our for example, you're not capable of anything. For example, you are very dark or you are very fat. Something, these kind of things. Like, do people need to accept this, or we need to defend ourselves from the other people?
Yeah. So how should we basically have what to tolerate, what not to tolerate? And yes, at a bodily level, these remarks are unwelcome, definitely. And we should protest and we should protect ourselves. We should do everything in our control to protect ourselves, protect our dignity, protect ourselves physically, mentally, and emotionally. Because if we get affected by all of that, we will not be able to practice bhakti. We'll keep thinking about all those incidents which will distract us. So we should be protective of ourselves. Our physical protection, mental and emotional protection should also be one of our priority. Having said that, people will keep saying things, what they will say, and beyond a point, you will find yourself helpless to shut people's mouth. There, your understanding. So if it keeps affecting you, why it is affecting you? Because we also are in a bodily conception of life. We also believe that we are body, and as a body, we might not be having an attractive body than somebody else. We compare ourselves with someone else, and then we conclude that that body is so so nice, so thin, and my body is so this color, that color, and this color. So because we identify ourselves as a body, not as a soul, we get affected by those comments also. So one way is to protect yourself from that, from to the extent you can. And another better way, or in parallel, you can raise your consciousness above body. Just like there's a fire in the building, but a man gets picked up by a helicopter above. Now, if that happens, it will stop affecting you. It will stop impacting you. Personally, it will not affect you. It does not justify, it doesn't really mean that this should be done by others, but when it will stop affecting you, it will, those who are indulging it in this activity will also stop bothering you, because when they say that it doesn't affect you anymore, they will stop doing it. They will not be interested in doing the same thing, because
But
they don't want
Prabhuji,
you to
what
get
I
hurt. And this will, if they see you getting hurt by these comments, they will keep doing it more and more. So two things. One is you need to protect yourself. That's perfectly all right. You should do it physically, mentally, emotionally. And also try to cultivate this right consciousness by practicing bhakti, by practicing japa, and by learning Bhagavad Gita, so that it will stop affecting you mentally and emotionally. And when it stops affecting you, people will stop doing it because their purpose will not get served.
But Prabhuji, what I observed is if we keep silent, like initially, when people used to comment or do anything, like I used to just leave it, like tolerate them.
No, you should
But
not.
they have
That's right.
taken the advantage and they're doing
No,
it.
Gayatri, you should not tolerate. That's what I'm saying. You should protect, do everything in your power to protect yourself, protect your dignity, protect yourself emotionally and mentally and physically, all the way. So self-protection is the first act, not the last act. So you should do anything what is in your capacity, power to protect your dignity. Okay. But beyond that, you will actually not be able to shut everyone's mouth. If there are 1,000 people, you can speak with few, we can speak with few more, but eventually you'll have to take a position where you have to just raise your consciousness about this. And if they see it doesn't affect you, they will stop doing it themselves. So it has to be twofold. There has to be twofold actions to it. One is to work internally to raise your consciousness above the concept, bodily conception. Second, first is basically done to actually act with people against who for your own protection. So it's a twofold action, not just one way action that I just have to tolerate. You don't have to do that. Okay.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So if you want to discuss in more detail, you have my number, Maitri?
Yes, Prabhuji, I have your
Okay.
number.
So you can send me a message, we can connect and discuss in more detail if you want.
Okay, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
That will be
Thank you.
okay, Hare Krishna. So let's conclude today's session. We'll post the message with a link and a link to the places, the Google Map, Google Map link to the places where the book distribution will happen today. So we'll expect a lot of you to come out and participate in large numbers in these book distribution activities for the pleasure of Lord Krishna. So with this, we'll conclude today's session and we'll meet next Sunday with another wonderful topic from wonderful scripture, Bhagavad Gita. Thank you so much, everyone. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Bol. Jagannath Badesh Godra Mai ki jai. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Thank you for such a wonderful
Hare
session.
Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandavat pranam.
Hare
Thank you,
Krishna.
Prabhuji.
Dandavat pranam.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Dandavat pranam.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandavat pranam.